Okay guys, welcome to episode 1 of Nothing Like Games Plays City Skylines. Now this is a city building game which I've already poured 100 plus hours into because I'm mega addicted to it. It's more or less the vanilla game that I'm playing here. I've got a couple of mods in play. The extended public transport UI, because without it bus lines are insanely complicated, so it lets you kind of rename them and recolor them and gives you a bit more information on that one, and the land thing, so that you can get, you start with just the one plot of land, but you can get up to 9 unlocked, but with this mod now you can get 25. So if we fill them all up, then my computer will probably die, but we'll see what happens. I've had 2 cities in the past. One of them is still doing pretty well. The other one was great until some tragic financial problems left it 3 million in the red, and yeah, that went well. But that was after an awfully long time playing before it all just sort of fell apart. Just trying to pick a map here. Now that's the site of my second city, so I think I'm not going to go with that just because, whatever. I think I'm going to go with left-hand traffic just because I'm British, so we drive on the left. It would be confusing if we didn't. I think this channel is going to be called Nothing Like Games, so we're going to call the city Nothing Like Here, because whatever. And it's a European map theme. I've not tried the European map theme yet, so that'll be fun. Let's see what happens. I realise I've picked the top map right at the top of the list, which I imagine lots of people play because it's at the top, but I've not played it yet, so we're going to give it a go, see what happens. Hello. Do you remember how to play this game? Yes, I do. We'll destroy him. We'll probably completely ignore him forever and ever and ever, because he doesn't say anything interesting. So let's just have a quick look here. So we're starting out on a coastline, but it doesn't look like there's going to be any more coastlines kind of available anywhere else. So let's kind of just have a little think about it. So we've got some, it looks like we've got some, I can't actually look at anything because I need to really just give me the one kind of road to start off with. Okay, so we'll just chunk a bit of road in, see if it'll let me. No, I can't look at the natural resources, but it looks like we've got some forestry land here, so we might want to put some industry down that end. Maybe some wind power up on the hill there. So I think I'm going to start with some residential up the other end. We'll just sort of temporarily provide some access there. It does give us some other roads. Actually, oh, the other mod I've got installed is this one that allows the game automatically to demolish burned buildings and abandoned buildings. Now I tend to just leave the burned ones on because the firemen in this game are just rubbish. The fire women are great, but the firemen are rubbish. But I leave the abandoned one turned off most of the time because I like to have the kind of the sign of, like, if there's loads of abandoned buildings, something's gone wrong, so I like to be able to kind of notice that, and I'll just use it sometimes to clear out any buildings that are sort of abandoned. So what we'll just do for now, I think we're going to put some industrial down the bottom here, so I'm going to want to put, how much money do you start with? 70,000. So I'm just going to spend, there, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to put down, I can't put down a proper roundabout like I want to yet, so I'm just going to build this kind of there, and for the moment that's just going to be that. I'm going to replace that with a big roundabout once we are once we've unlocked everything a bit more. even have slip roads. That's quite irritating. So we'll just connect that just for now. That's ugly as anything, so we won't get too excited about that. Now it's quite nice, I think, as a Brit, after years of playing SimCity, where everything is grids and very American, and nothing against Americans, but it's lovely just to be able to have some roundabouts around the place, because they do make life easier. Even though the game doesn't actually simulate the roundabouts kind of quite right, because in a real roundabout, if you're on the roundabout, you should never give way to anyone coming onto the roundabout. The idea is that the traffic on the roundabout keeps moving, gets off the roundabout, and then the traffic off can get on. So it's not quite right, but it's still nice to see, and hopefully maybe they can improve the old roundabout in a patch or something, or a sequel if they ever wanted to do that, though I wouldn't think they'll do that for a little while, because we've got many years of addiction to this game to deal with. Now I'm falling into the trap of spending money really quickly already, just because I'm used to having my last city. I had 160,000 people living in it or something like that, and 20,000 surplus every month. So no, not every month, every week. So the city built up a fair whack of money. So I'm pretty used to just spending huge piles of money. But we'll just try and get some people in before we start doing that. I'm just going to sort of whack some residential in over here. This might all get changed later on. So there's something quite nice about keeping the kind of initial stuff, even if it's a bit of a mess, because it reminds you of where you started. And if we pour 100 hours into this, then this could get all nostalgic and weepy about this. Look, there we go. So we've got a few people moving in already there. So we'll put some power plant. We'll probably need a power plant already. So we'll just start off with just a coal power plant, and we'll whack it just there for whatever, and we're going to need immediately some power cables just to keep the residential up and running. Let's find a way that works like that, just to sort of get the residential people up and running. We're going to need some water in the near future as well. Now, do we have a current? Because one of the things you really want to remember in this game is never, ever, ever dump your crap upstream of where you're pumping water out of, because that's not a good milkshake. Nobody's going to like that. But it doesn't look like there's actually really a flow on this. I don't know if it's just a big lake or something, but there's no flow at all. So we'll just kind of pick an end. Oh dear. And we'll put the waste pipe the other end. Actually, that's no, we will, because we're not going to build right next to that, because that's the cliffs. So even if you're up top of the cliffs, they're going to not have a problem with that. Now this game handles water and sewage and electricity and stuff more abstractly than SimCity 2013 did. SimCity 2013 had this kind of odd. Oh, I'm going to need power. This is a problem. I'm going to need power to these pumps. I'm going to need to refund something. If you destroy a road that you built recently, you can get refunds. Or can we get an income generating? The population is going up. So if we put some commercial in just around here, start to get the tax revenue up, then maybe we'll be able to afford some power. That's not going to get any power either. We're going to have to fill in the kind of intervening bit and hope some people build across there and get some power going. Put some industrial just around here, probably not just right along there, because I'm gonna, like I say, I'm gonna make that into, but I'm gonna have to just connect it for now. I don't really want that going that close to the. But no, it doesn't matter because yeah, we'll just put some industrial up this end, and we will get some tax revenues coming in. We'll speed things up a bit, and we'll get some tax revenues coming in. We have got no water at the moment, despite all the pipes I lay, because we don't have power to the pump. So this is exactly how not to play it. Do you know, I watched a Let's Play the other day of a chap who was he'd played it loads, presumably before. He'd made a custom map and whatever, which I haven't bothered to do, and he ran out of money almost immediately and had to kind of flummox about a little bit, and I sat there and I thought, what an idiot. But as it turns out, when you're talking the whole time, you're not really concentrating on what you're doing, and so you play like a moron. Still, I imagine I'll get used to it if I become some YouTuber. At the moment, I'm just an unemployed guy recording a video because I have become addicted to this game, so I might as well do something vaguely productive out of the addiction while I'm at it. How's our money going? 540 loss a week. Oh dear, this is problems. See the old budget-a-rooney. Oh, we can drop. Oh, little hamlet. Does that give us a little cash bonus? Oh, it does. I think it gives us a little cash bonus there, so that'll get us out of our little problem that we were having just there. That's excellent. So we'll just run this round so it gets some power into our water network. And sad as it may be, that irritates me because I want that to just kind of look a bit more nicely spaced. But that's part of the joy of this game, is just sort of getting things looking just so. It's like a big train set or whatever. It's just sort of, you want it to just be exactly right. And I always found train sets quite disappointing actually. I tried train sets a few times and I always kind of quite liked the idea, but as it turned out, you imagine this kind of great set of trains going round, and stations and scenery and all this lovely stuff, but it turns out that you're just up in a cold loft coughing because it's a bit dusty, and that was completely not planned. Yeah, you end up in a cold loft with a couple of trains and they fall off because they hit a nail or a slightly wonky plank or something stupid like that, and you don't use it as much as you promised your dad you would, and it just becomes this whole waste of a thing. Whereas actually now, because of a bit of technology and whatever, I can't believe it actually. I played the original SimCity, not when it first came out because I'm not that old, but I did play it a few years later, and I don't know how much later actually. Sometime in the early 90s I played it, I suppose when I was little. I'm not sure exactly when it came out, but that was nothing in comparison to what they are now. I remember 10 years ago playing, 12 years ago probably now I suppose, when SimCity 4 came out. It was a brilliant game. I really wish that the newer SimCity games followed that a little bit more, but instead they went off in some other direction of small tiny cities which are smaller than the village in which I live, which is not a small village but it's no city, and so here we have Paradox and Colossal Colossal Order. I know who made this game. Shh. But they've done an excellent job here of just kind of making a big playground for us all to play in. Now see, I've not played the European map set before, so I'm not used to seeing these sort of elementary schools. I don't know about the rest of Europe, but certainly if they were really being European, in terms of Britain anyway, they wouldn't be called elementary schools, they'd be called primary schools. Or even first schools if you lived where I lived. and continue to live. Although now my primary school and my middle school merged, and now it's an elementary, not elementary school. I'm not an American. It's a primary school. But that does look quite nice. It doesn't look anything like my primary school, which has actually had a whole bunch of new building recently. So it's big and modern looking. But that looks lovely. I'm looking forward to actually seeing. Oh, actually, there we go. That's my high school was actually was closed, became an academy, knocked down, and they rebuilt it as this lovely shiny new building, which doesn't look so dissimilar to that, which is kind of bonkers. And oh yeah, that's a nice uni, isn't it? I'm looking forward to seeing the European stuff. See if they made it feel a little bit European. Though I do sometimes think that us Brits get a little bit snobbish about Europe and start sort of saying that we're not really European, but we really are. I mean, we're not quite the same as anyone else on the continent, but we're no more dissimilar than some of the states of America that are sort of opposite ends of a humongous country from each other. Of course they're going to be different. You know, how many people live in America? You know, how many people live in the EU? Absolute bonkers. We nearly lost a bunch of them recently because of the trouble with Greece. They nearly all sort of fell off the end of the EU, and my fair country, Great Britain, may very well disappear off as well if we vote the wrong way in the old referendum. This is not supposed to be a political channel, but hey, we seem to have time to kill while we're just sort of waiting for a little bit more income. Just speed things up a little bit. Just there. I'm going to need some more residential about the place. See, I don't like it sped up, actually. I know it makes things go faster, but I always think that the joy of these games is kind of just pottering about, kind of making things beautiful as much as you can. We actually are running short of electricity. That's the problem. Can we bump the electricity budget? See, I dropped that when we were having problems getting power to the old water facilities. So should jump that back up again. We suddenly have enough power for these poor people up here in the Lafayette residence. That was Benjamin Sisko's middle name, I believe, in Deep Space Nine. Excellent show. You should go and watch it. Even if you watched it before, you should watch it again. Great show. Best of the Star Treks, I think. Although Season 1 and perhaps even Season 2 as well can be a little bit hard going. It all gets more exciting once they go to war. And once Ben Sisko gets a beard and a girlfriend. Cassidy. Played by the excellent Penny Johnson-Gerald, I believe, who seems to turn up in every show that I like. She was in 24, Sherry Palmer, scheming woman, I'm sure played by a lovely woman. What else was she in? She turned up in an episode of Next Generation I was watching the other day, actually, before she was Cassidy Yates. She was this random woman who got pregnant by Nikolai Rozhenko, Worf's foster brother. Which I didn't remember. And now, of course, she plays Captain Gates in Castle, which is a great show. Which stars another sci-fi great, Nathan Fillion, who I believe is Canadian, who was in the excellent but short-lived Firefly, made by Joss Whedon, who now everyone loves because of Avengers, but at the time everyone loved because of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. What a show that was. That was my childhood right there. Excellent show, excellent show. It can be quite interesting, actually, being watching a show about witches and whatever, if you've got slightly conservative parents, because they don't necessarily get that really it's about good versus evil. It's no weirder than Harry Potter, which some people wouldn't necessarily have a problem with, which I don't really get, but I'm of the generation that loved Harry Potter. It's excellent game. I think we're going to need a landfill because I see a few people complaining. Look, he's complaining he's got some rubbish about the place, or trash or garbage or whatever you want to call it if you're a bit foreign. It's a disease, I'm sorry. I can't help you. I really can't help. I'm joking. See, I think I don't want to pick on Americans, but I do think sometimes they think that we don't like them when actually it's just the way that we are. Brits, the British, we have a bit of banter with our friends. We mock people that we care about, not in a kind of hurtful way. It's just sort of like a game. It's kind of playing. So if we're making jokes about it, it means we like you. And personally, I'm pretty fond of America. I mean, I'm not going to move to America. I'm very proud to be British. But I have a lot of... I watch a lot of American TV. I respect plenty of Americans. Met a few. Seem to be quite nice. Watched a wonderful documentary the other day of President Obama meeting David Attenborough, which I thought was lovely. I've always liked Obama, so if you're a Republican, don't hate me. And I thought I would just be talking about city skylines. Do you know, I don't even know how long I've been recording. Probably far too long, but I'm enjoying, so let's keep going. I made sure to click the button on YouTube that lets me put stuff on that's more than 15 minutes long, so there we go. So this guy's still complaining about his he's got garbage has piled up. That's quite an American phrase. We don't say garbage over here. It would be rubbish. In fact, I do sort of wonder, we've just got the one word, just say rubbish. Really, waste. I suppose you could say if you're being sort of euphemistic and whatever. If you want a waste management company, not the sort that Tony Soprano ran even, but yeah, if you run a waste management company, but we've just got the one word really. We just say rubbish. The Americans seem to say junk and garbage and trash, and it's like, well, why you got 3 words for it? But maybe they want to have 3 words for it. Ooh, that's a hospital. That actually does look quite a lot like my local hospital. So this European map pack update thing is quite good. That does look like my local hospital. Of course, my local hospital is that building and a whole bunch of other stuff. So look, we are now apparently a worthy village with a population of 800. I don't know. I live in a village with a population of about 20,000, so 800 doesn't sound that impressive, but the populations are all a little bit off on this. You can have a massive city that's a couple of 100,000 people, where in reality it would actually be millions. I sometimes think if you multiply the number it says by 10, you probably I read that somewhere and it actually sounds about right. There we go. Look, it's got a sort of British style fire. Well, we would call it a fire station really, rather than a firehouse, but fair enough. But yeah, and the police station. And here we got forestry specialisation, which I really like actually, because you just put it some trees and they just cut them down and you see all the lovely trees driving around, which brings back memories of playing Euro Truck Simulator 2 a million times, and driving all over the place. Driving all over the place, delivering logs and things. And great game. I did momentarily think about doing a video of it, but I actually think the point of it is relaxing. What is there to say? You drive the truck in the road. You try not to hit anything. Oh, that's nice. It's a little cinema. So Americans call a theatre. The Gherkin. That's built up in London, which is only about 60 miles from where I am here. Oh, and the London Eye. That's up there as well, of course. And there we go. We've got a good old-fashioned British theatre that actually shows plays instead of films. Although, admittedly, the nearest theatre to my house also shows films, so it's not so outlandish to call a place that shows films theatres. I seem to have been talking about Americans quite a lot. They say you talk about the things that you care about, so maybe I just care loads about Americans. I wouldn't be too surprised. Put one of these lovely little primary schools in. Primary schools. We put one of these in and just sort of get these people some education. Let them know what's the difference between a pen and a pencil, and naught and a cross. And oh look, somebody's missed some water. Oh, it's because I've extended up there a little bit without adding an extra pipe. Now some people have really neat pipe networks, and I thought that starting this I might start with that, and I sort of have. That's pretty straight, but I'll let you know that it's not going to stay that way because I can never be bothered. It's just like, it's underground, who cares? You just go there, you whack it in, you come back up, and you make everything on the surface look nice. I really like the trees, which I can't have yet because it won't let me have them until I reach a population of 1,300. Look at that. So we've got some rubbish collection, we've got some electricity, we've got some water. We haven't got any healthcare yet. So that's another interesting difference actually with Americans. If we're going to keep talking about Americans, because why the heck not? They pay health insurance, which is the oddest thing when you're British. It wouldn't even occur to us to pay health insurance because we have a national health service, which is a bit creaky and a bit rubbish sometimes, but it's free for all of us, so we like it. I thought it was incredible actually when I watched the opening ceremony for the 2012 Olympics that we hosted up in London. I say we, like I had anything to do with it, but yeah, they had people like dancers on giant beds, which I think were trampolines, and there was a whole thing, and it's that's kind of, oh look, there's a fire there. Maybe can we get a fire house, which we would call a fire station, down quickly enough? Where are we going to put that? We can put that on the main road over here somewhere, and we'll see what happens with these guys. They're going to go straight to the fire. For some reason that appears to be a German flag on the side of there, so I suppose this European map pack, Germany is in Europe. It's not a British update, it's a European thingy-bob. Thingy-bob being a great word when you can't think of what you're trying to say. Move, 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 move! Pick up the rubbish later! Move! Oh, no, no, no. Disasters, disaster, disaster. I can tell you one thing actually about this that doesn't look particularly British, certainly. I don't know about other countries in Europe, but we have an awful lot of terrace houses. So, like these two, but these are semi-detached, it's just two next to each other. We would have loads and loads of roads where it's just like 100 houses that are just one building essentially, wall to wall to wall, all the way along. So that doesn't look very, very European particularly. But I have seen the roofing. The roofs actually look quite good. That's pretty standard what we have over here. I've never seen really a house like that in America, in Britain. That does still look quite American. But maybe I just live in too poor of a part of Britain. Maybe if I lived somewhere richer, I'd see places like that a bit more. Though I do live in the southeast, it's not terribly. We are, in theory, the wealthiest part of the country, but it doesn't mean we're all wealthy. I don't live in a terribly wealthy postcode. Quite like the sort of tower on the top of that, and the big bell. Look at that big bell on the firehouse. See, every time I say firehouse, it makes me think of Firehouse 51. No, it's called that Firehouse 51 show because I've been watching loads of Chicago Fire. It's a great American program. It's a great program in general. It doesn't. I'm not saying it's a great American program as if I'm surprised that Americans have made a good program. I watch tons of American TV. I don't know why that's making me laugh a little bit now. I've just gestured towards a bookcase full of my DVDs, which you can't see because I'm just recording my screen and my endless blathering about what's going on. But gesturing. So we've still got high residential demand, so let's see if we can put in some better yeah, let's see if we can put in a bit more stuff. I think what I might do, just to kind of leave a bit more space, because I'll probably want to put in a motorway later on once it's allowed me to, and once we've got the sort of kind of funding, because at the moment we haven't got so much about the place. But I think I'll do is I'll kind of extend over in this direction rather than filling in this area, because we're probably going to want to put a road through there at some point, especially once we've got the tiles, the sort of land next to it here. So yeah, so I think what we'll do is we'll take a 6-lane road here. I must admit, actually, that's another thing that's really not British at all. 6-lane roads. I mean 3 lanes going either way. That's really a motorway where we are, a freeway or highway, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, I mean, local roads never really seem to go higher than 2 lanes in either direction. But I suppose I don't play this for realism, otherwise I would have to wait flipping years before I could, before anything I ordered was actually built. Because I'm very aware, I was just reading in the paper the other day that they're building a couple of towers at the marina in Brighton, which is a city about 10-12 miles from where I live, yeah, they're building towers there that I think first went in, they tried to put them in planning permission like 15 years ago or something bonkers, and then revisions and a recession and everything, and they've been delayed, and they've only just started them a couple of months ago, something like that. We have run out of money. That's helpful. Let's just get a nice piece of, yeah, that will work. Trouble is, if I put that there, I'll have a junction really close to the roundabout, and that will just cause traffic nightmares. So what I'll probably do, I think, is actually make that a sort of smaller block, which is also quite un-British. We don't really, very few of our roads are nice and straight, but I do tend to fall into the trap of making things pretty straight, because it's just neater a lot of the time, isn't it? And it fills in the space better. And I played a lot of cities, SimCity 2013, the one that came out in 2013, obviously. I played a lot of that, and I got really used to just cramming everything in. And it's like the city wasn't like if there was like, I would destroy 5 skyscrapers so I could move a road 1 tile so that there wasn't a gap between the back of that building and the front of the back of the next building on the other road. Whereas here, I quite like having these spaces, because once we get these trees unlocked, once we get another 600 people in, I tend to fill up the awkward spaces with trees and stuff, and it just makes the whole city look so much nicer and greener, because at the moment we've got all these trees kind of naturally there because it's low density, but if you upgrade that to high density, they just put up these tower blocks with no trees about the place, so then you put a few in and it just kind of brings the place back. One of the other things I want to do is I want to start trying to get some of the monuments and stuff like that, because I've not really done that too much in previous cities, 2 previous cities. I had some water, I always forget that. What I did was just sort of yeah, I mean, I put in some of the kind of special buildings, but I never got any of the kind of like space elevator and stuff like that, the big kind of ones. I was never really too interested in getting them, because I read that like they more or less just like solve like a building that like basically solves healthcare, and I'm just like, well, yeah, but the whole point of the game, the challenge of the game, is keeping all these systems kind of balanced and under control. Yeah, so why would you want to purposefully try and kind of take that away? But I think actually it'd be nice to sort of try and get some of that stuff, even if I then kind of destroy them or get rid of them, or whatever, reload an old save. So there we have it. That's the old primary school. Oh, it's actually got a little Karl Heisenberg school. Is that German, possibly? Or I think that does developers like Finnish or something, so they actually are European. So it might make sense that they would bring out a European map pack thing. a map. I keep calling it a map pack. It's not a map pack, is it? It was just in the update that gave us tunnels as well, which are so useful to get a bit further on. You just sort of hit page down, and there you go. You put a tunnel underneath. Obviously, with money at the moment, I don't really need a tunnel because I've only got 1,200 people living in this place. Nothing like here, but. They're super useful. In my last city, I had a traffic problem. I had this big long avenue with loads and loads of traffic because it's split off to loads of other places. And I put in this underground motorway because I didn't have really any space. I'd have to destroy huge swathes of the city. So I put in this underground motorway because it was feeding this kind of industrial forestry district up the other end. So I did think about making videos with that city, but yeah, I don't know. I decided in the end, I thought that it would be better to kind of make a new start with the channel. Let's say new, the channel is new. I do run a gaming blog, which I've run for a little while, a few months I think, also called Nothing Like Games. It's on WordPress. It's got a handful of I don't know why I'm just watching sewage come out. Sewage is purple on this. Yeah, it's got a handful of blogs, several of them about City Skylines. But I just thought that it would be nice to just kind of actually chat about the game a little bit more rather than doing it all through words, because yeah, because I don't know, it's all a bit detached when it's through words, isn't it? Here I can actually show you stuff. I can go, look, we have got a crime spree happening at the quiet corner shop. Somebody is knocking that place off. Now the question is, can we afford a little police station? And the answer is no, we cannot. We do not have 12,000 whatever what are these supposed to be? Because it looks sort of like the dollar sign, because it's got a little C with the things through it, like dollars has got a little S with the things through, hasn't it? Or it looks quite similar actually to the euro sign, I suppose, which is a sort of stylized E, which almost looks like a C because the kind of middle bit is so it almost looks like a euro symbol. I mean, I naturally kind of say pounds, I suppose, because we have pounds here, or I'll say dollars maybe, just because so much stuff is in American dollars or whatever. I almost found myself saying simoleons the other day because of lots of time playing SimCity and The Sims. We've got a 27% crime rate. We really need this police station. I've never had one that high. I've never had a crime rate above about 10%, which actually, when I think about it, is not great, to be honest. 10% is still quite a lot of crimes going on. There's like 10 out of every 100 people is doing some crime. And yeah, so we've got like there's a 28% crime rate. So we've got about a third of our people doing some crimes. We've got about 400 people or something doing crime at the moment. It's like, how is that even sustainable? There's 400 people doing crime on the remaining, trying to do maths, 800 or something. That just doesn't sound sustainable. It's like, rob a couple of people, that's it. You run out of people to rob. We really need... Can we take a little loan? I really don't actually want to take a loan, to be honest, because it's like we're going to have to pay back £400 a week. Oh, look, the high school's a little kind of L-shaped. That's interesting. My old high school is now shaped like a boat. It seems it's like pointed at one end. It's really odd. This is something I really like as well with SimCity 2013. It was always the new the next educational establishment replaced the old one, so you could just have a university and they'd be teaching everything from tiny children all the way through, because it didn't kind of distinguish. Whereas this, you do have to maintain primary schools, high schools, and universities. Though it's a bit odd that you would have. We still haven't got any medical care, but I do want to get a police department because we're now up to 30% crime rate. So let's get a police department. Let's put it there. Let's get CID on the case. That's like, I don't know what that's like actually. But, I mean, our equivalent of the FBI is the what is it called? The National Crime Organisation, something like that. I think it's called. It sounds like a mafia family or something, but it's like our equivalent of the FBI, I suppose, for like kind of big crimes. But we just have for slightly smaller scale kind of things, we have what's called the CID, which is like Central Intelligence Division or something, but they have kind of branches in different police stations. So it's like that's where the detectives go and detect things, or at least that's what TV tells me. I'm getting most of that from old episodes of The Bill, which I watched years and years ago. It was a great show back in the day. And old episodes of Life on Mars, not the American remake, which flopped, but the original with John Sim and what's his name? Guy who played Gene Hunt, Philip Glenister, I believe. He's actually a Southern guy who put on a Northern accent really well, and I saw him in an advert not so long ago, last year sometime I think, and he was doing the Northern accent. Like he's got famous with a Northern accent, and so that's it. He just forever has to do that Northern accent rather than actually be, because he's from somewhere in the south, somewhere down here where I'm sort of, so he should sound more like me, but he doesn't. He sounds all sort of like, I'm Northern and I'm gonna take you down. Not that all Northern people are horrible. I know a few Northern people, they're absolutely lovely. I'm convinced that I'm going to offend absolutely everyone in this video if I keep talking long enough. But no, absolutely. So it just sort of, there's something about the kind of northern accent. They sound a bit more like they're going to kind of, they're not going to take it. They're not going to take you being a pain in the arse. Whereas we down south, we sound a little bit weak and woolly perhaps sometimes. Look at that, the crime rate's dropped to 1%. That's a 29% drop in crime rate from this little police station. That's excellent. That's absolutely excellent. It's right next to the little primary school. So if any of these kids step out of line, we've got well, not armed police. We have armed police over here, but our police aren't armed as standard. They have kind of specialised armed units for kind of armed responses when that's important. But no, our police aren't armed as standard. We have very strict gun control laws. Just got to say, there's one thing that I think that I mean, I like America, but I do think that that's one thing where America kind of gets it wrong. They kind of have this kind of concept that guns don't kill people do. You think, well, yes, but if you're having to try and kill someone with a stick or a bat or a sharpened toothbrush, you're not going to be able to kill 30 people before the police can stop you. Whereas, I don't know, it's this whole thing. But we had this thing over here called the Dunblane. I don't know whether they call it a massacre, but it was in the early 90s, I believe. Somebody went to a school there with a gun, and the government went, no, that's it, we're tightening up gun control laws, and since then there really hasn't been well, there hasn't been a kind of school shooting or mass shooting as far as I'm aware, which I'm very pleased about, because frankly, who wants to live in a country where you might get shot? And I don't think that all Americans are living in fear or anything like that, but I do think that, I mean, I know that my view of America comes largely from TV, I suppose. And I watch, like, if you're watching shows like Bones and Castle and stuff, and these people are investigating murders every week, you think, well, that's not the everyday life. I've met a whole bunch of Americans, and that is not everyday life by any stretch of the imagination. I'm just going to move this power cable out a little bit more so that I can that area. As I've not been talking about City Skylines as much as I've just been talking about Americans. I love you really, guys, I really do. Let's oh dear. Although, why the heck do you say niche? I mean, I know you mean niche, but I always think there's an E on the end. But then why do we say lieutenant? I don't understand that. After years of watching Star Trek, I risk sounding like an imbecile to my fellow Brits, and I say lieutenant. Though maybe that doesn't catch on over here largely because we call a toilet a loo. She's gonna pop to the loo. It's like if you're getting promoted, you don't want your rank to also be the name of the place where you defecate. That puts some funny images in the mind, doesn't it? Oh dear, dear, dear. You make some jokes out of that one, I'm sure. And I have no idea how long I've been playing, so I'm gonna assume that it's been a really long time, and I'm going to say goodbye, and then I'm going to check how long I've been recording, and if I have, in fact, been recording for a long time, then this will really be the goodbye. I'll be saying goodbye, and if not, then I might come back. We shall find out. But nevertheless, episode 2 will be up sometime, maybe later today. I don't know. It depends. I'm having fun, so I'll probably just do another episode pretty quick. But yeah, we have got 1,500 people have moved in already to Nothing Like Here, and at the moment there's plenty of places like here, but there won't be for long because we're going to make this fantastic. Okay, cool.